Guys, Jungle Bob here. Hope everybody's having a happy Mother's Day. Thanks to all you moms out there for taking care of us when we were little kids. And to all you single dads out there that have to be both parents today. Anyway, today's shirt of the week is going to be the Small Engine Community shirt. AJP over in the UK designed this shirt. I hadn't had this out since I got it, hardly. So that's the shirt of the week. And this video is going to be on installing a Hipa carburetor on a Husqvarna 128 LD string trimmer. So if you guys are interested, stay tuned. We'll get right into what we're going to do today is change the carburetor on this 128 LD made by Husqvarna. This one, a customer brought this over. He's a good customer of mine. His name's Smitty. Funny story about Smitty. Last year he came over. He'd been at one of his customers' houses and they had a raccoon problem, and he still had the raccoons in the cage when he rolled up dropping off some equipment. But anyway, so this thing, it's kind of rough. I've already done a few things to it. It's got one of these style cutters on it where you thread your own string. But when it got over here, this is the gas that I got out of it. You see it's nasty. And of course the fuel lines and the fuel filter, you know, they were all shot. So I went ahead and changed all those. And I tried to clean the carburetor in the ultrasonic, but it had rust and stuff in it. I just couldn't get it working right. And then I remembered the folks over at Hipa had sent me a carburetor last year to work on one just like this, and the customer decided he didn't want to fix it. So I've had that carburetor all this time, and I haven't done the video for Hipa, excuse me, Hipa. And we're going to do that today. So we'll get you on the tripod and we'll get this thing going. Alright guys, so these are pretty simple to work on. Like I said, I've already done the fuel lines, but just take air filter knob, just screws off. Now this is a lot easier than the 326s because they have a different air filter setup, and it's hard to, you got to take a whole bunch of more stuff off. But 8mm, just like on the Steels, and most of your 2-cycle carburetors, 8mm bolts hold it on, or nuts. Hope everybody's having a happy Mother's Day. To all you moms out there, happy Mother's Day. To you dads that are having to raise kids by yourself. And you just have to slide this choke lever to the middle. And that exposes your carburetor right here. And to get that loose, you just pull it out. You'll have to get your throttle linkage off, throttle cable off. It's simple. It's a Z-bend style. So, well, I say it's easy. Oh yeah, this I don't know. You can see the cable goes around this little plastic piece right there, but you pull off the carburetor a little bit, then this piece will just pop out, and that'll give you the slack you need to get the cable out. And then the carburetor's off, pretty much. Crack your cap so you don't have a mess on your hands. Remember which way the cables, the fuel lines go. Like I said, this is about the simplest it gets. Alright, so we also have a gasket here, and you can, most of the time you can just reuse this gasket, but I noticed when I was in here before, it's got a little damage to it. And like I said, the folks over at Hipa, they included a new gasket, and there's the carburetor. So you know, it's just pretty much the same. You want to make sure your gaskets match up, and they do, just like that. So back on with the gasket. My bad. Gotta remember which way it goes, Bob. Just like that. And just be gentle with it when you're sliding it over the studs so you don't tear it. And you'll have to get your fuel lines out of the way. Oh, and to change the fuel lines, I took the tank off because it's real easy to, you know, just a couple of screws. But you can try to do it while it's on there. If you've been doing this stuff a while, you can do it that way. So then it's just pretty much plug and play. You know, turn the carburetor back like it was. Put your fuel lines back on. Now this could be a little tight and tricky, especially when you're trying to do it on camera. But they just slide back on. Make sure you get them pushed up all the way. And line up your holes. Now you can go ahead and hook your throttle cable back up. Boom. And like I said, this cable rides over the outside of that plastic. And there's a little notch sticking out. You'll know it'll line up perfect. And you just push it back on. Carburetor back on all the way. Check your throttle. This is a good time to check and make sure everything's working right. Okay. You with me so far? Go ahead and test it for prime too if you want to. Make sure you got a good carburetor. It may take a few times because it's a new carburetor to get the fuel flowing, but there you go. Then put your air filter cover back on. Now this has a gasket still on here. Hang on. I'll be right back. I'm going to change that. On this particular carburetor, I didn't have they didn't send one in the kit for some reason. But there's no, I mean, it just sits flush. There's no, where you got to worry about it. Some of these gaskets, they have little tiny holes up top or bottom or on the side. But this one doesn't. So I'm just going to, and it may not even need a gasket, but I believe they're supposed to have one. So, but anyway, I'm going to use this one. It fits perfect. Always save those spare gaskets because you never know when they're going to come in handy. Or you can just make your own. If you're cool like me, you can just make your own. You have to. Anyway. Alright. 2 8mm nuts going back on. Once again, guys, over at Hipa, Colin sent this last year and I just didn't do a video on it, so I owed them a video. And I think they have an anniversary coming up. He sent me a piece of video clip. I'm going to try to include it on this video. Let's see. Now, this air filter that was in there is kind of trashed. But we got a new one in the kit. What's the chances this thing's going to fire right up? I don't know. We'll see. And am I going to have to tune the carburetor? Alright, I'm going to turn it this way. We're going to put it on choke. Primer up, it says push and purge 10 times. You want the choke lever all the way to the left, and then it says pull it 3 times, then go to half choke, and then pull it to start, and then turn the choke off when the engine warms up. Alright, here we go. Let's see. Alright, so it's wanting to bog a little bit, so I'm going to find the adjuster, my adjuster tool for this, and we'll give it a little turn and see what we can do with it. This one, this carburetor adjustment tool came out of this kit from Hipa. Once again, they sent me that last year, but I've got so many extras, I've overfilled the pouch quite a bit. So this one's faded off. I don't know. It looks like maybe a square D. Don't quote me on that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to crank it back up, and we're going to hit the throttle, and I'm going to go right after the high-speed adjustment, which is the one farthest away from the engine. And probably just going to have to turn it just a little bit counterclockwise. You should hear the difference in the sound when I do that. So let's see what happens. And I do have the choke off and everything in the normal run position since we just cranked it up. And this has got one of those spring assist starts, so really you just pull it up till it hits right there, and then guys, so there you have it, a simple carburetor replacement from a kit that I got from Hipa on a Husqvarna 128LD. Now, they pride themselves on shipping these carburetors pre-tuned, and it probably would have been a perfect setting, except this is an old trimmer, and like any old pieces of equipment, they get worn, the rings are worn a little bit inside, so you have to adjust the carburetor as you go along. So, but overall, man, perfect fit, perfect hookup. So thanks again to everybody over at Hipa. And I'll try to put that anniversary footage in my video. And I want to show you something else I'm working on. Of course, you can see over there, famous Toro commercial with the blade adapter that's glued on because nobody put anesthesia on it when they assembled it. Thank you, Toro. But that's a whole nother story. And then we have this Toro, and the reason I wanted to show you this is on these wheel assemblies, they come loose, so you have what you call a pivot arm that fits in here, and it's got a nut that attaches to the backside. And over time, see, this is what should go in here. This should be two separate pieces. So over time, this gets stuck together. And then every time you adjust the wheels, it just loosens that nut off a little more. But the problem is you can't retighten them. Once this gets froze up, it's almost impossible to ever get them tight enough. And they're a pain in the butt to get off. So it took me a good 3 hours off and on just to get this off. And but anyway, guys, if you ever buy one of these new or whatever, take them apart, put you some anti-seize in there, make that part of your service, taking these loose every now and again. And you won't cause the old repair guy like me a lot of problems. So, alright, moving on. Do it here at Jungle Bob Repair for today's video. Please go check out Hipa, their anniversary sale, and we'll see you on the next one. Jungle Bob out.